Okay, I'm just about to do my last OEV treatment for the season. I'm going to check the feeders, just check if they've drained it. Feeders, last time I put feed was about a week ago. So if it's all gone, I'll add a bit. If not, then there's no point adding feed because it means they stopped. So we're September 29th right now. Our morning temps are anywhere from -10 to 0, and our highs are anywhere from low teens, so maybe 10 degrees Celsius to maybe 15, 18 degrees C during the day on a sunny day. So diurnals, the swings, daily swings are about 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. My top inserts for my winter prep are almost done, so I'll just add a little clip at the end there with the finished product. Typically I do OEV when it's cold, so early morning, late evening when all the bees are in. Right now it's about 10 C. It is cloudy. It looks like rain, so I'll do it with the cluster a bit looser. I'm going to check the trays. It's been about a week since my last OEV, a bit more than that, so we can check the trays for mite drops over that week. We can check the feeders to see if the bees are taking it. I can do tilt test just to see how heavy these colonies are. So those are all checks that I do to predict if my colonies are ready or not. And the other thing is, because folks have been talking about pollen patties. Pollen patties are, I guess, my strategy is I have pollen patties on till the last week of August, early September. My fall actually starts early August, so I add pollen patties towards the end of July as the pollen flow slows down to a trickle, because that month before the stop of the pollen flow, a good chunk of your winter bees come from that period. So if I didn't feed pollen patties, my winter bees would actually, 40% of them would be from July. Okay, that makes for really, really old bees. So by me stimulating and simulating pollen, it'll push them for another month. Okay, and the thing about winter bees, if there's a lot of brood in the colony, they won't become winter bees because they'll be nurse bees. And if they're nurse bees, their glands are going, they're feeding larvae, they're doing housekeeping, they're maturing, they're aging. And it's that aging process that is triggered by brood. So the key is to pull back on the pollen patties probably a month and a half before the start of your typical winter, or even 2 months. So if you've got natural pollen right till the end, great. I don't have that, so I've got to think outside the box, and I use pollen patties for that. So that's the one thing. And I guess the other thing on climate, we've got good wind indicators. So we've had snow on the mountains in the distance there. So I'm at about 780 meters elevation, which is just under 3,000 feet. And I guess on top of the mountains there, it's about 6,000, 7,000 feet. So just over 2,000 meters. So depending on how low the snow is when it snows, snow's still melting during the day, but I'd say the next week or so the snow should start coming down about 100 to 300, I'd say 300 kilometers north of here. The snow's starting to fall, so yeah, I'd say we're in for an early October winter, maybe with a few warm periods, so hence the reason I need to get those feeder boards ready. The one thing to remember too with polystyrene colonies, There's about a 20-degree differential with a non-insulated colony. So meaning the temperature at which the bees cluster. So they're a lot looser in there. And so the majority of the box is in the 20. So if there's brood, it'll be around between 30 and 35. The edges might be a bit cooler. But the whole box is pretty much above 20 degrees Celsius. And if it's minus 10 outside, that's a 30-degree differential. And to get good natural convective air currents, again, I don't use top entrances, you need a temperature difference. So that's why I'm not too worried about feeding syrup at the moment. Is there's still a lot of natural ventilation and the day highs are still above zero. So the bees with minimum fanning are able to basically vacate the colony of that humid air, and they'll be able to dry out that honey. Don't recommend late feeding with wooden non-insulated colonies, because once they cluster, the temperature outside that cluster within the colony will be really close to what the temperature is outside. So that's why you need a top entrance, a lot of ventilation, quilt boards, candy boards, and all that type of stuff. Is you need something to absorb that moisture, or like vent out the moisture, because it's not going anywhere. It's staying in the colony, and there's a risk for condensation. Okay, not saying you need to insulate, but it's one of the benefits for me out here is basically it de-stresses the bees during large temperature fluctuations. And even in the summer, typical wooden colonies, from my monitoring and the data collecting I did and the data I collected from other people, wooden colonies tend to do their major drying of nectar in the colony during peak warm periods during the day. So meaning the bees are fanning and they're pushing that air out, and they're pulling in drier warm air if it's available, but they tend to do their drying of the nectar during peak warm periods of the day. Where a poly without a top entrance, it seems to be in the morning at the coldest time of the day, because the bees are able to leverage that temperature difference and actually just use that natural convection current to their advantage. The reason I know that is in the summer, in the early morning during a nectar flow, the bottom boards especially are soaking wet, and I can hear the bees humming. And the other thing with my monitoring, I have sensors inside the colony, and I'm able to monitor humidity differences at different times of the day. And I know this, the largest drops in the morning for the polys and in the wooden colonies during the afternoon. So just a bit of FYI there. So just going to check these trays. And there'll probably be a lot of mites. Okay, I am using Hive Alive in my syrup right now. You can see there's quite a bit of mites. I'd say the brood nests now in these colonies are done. And a mite on a bottom board is better than a mite on a bee. So hopefully the next OAV will help drop these numbers. So, because it actually looks pretty bad. So this is post-treatment after about a week. So it still shows how many mites are there even when you don't see them on the bees. So I'll do a quick check on all of them. And you can see there's a bow on this board here, so hence the reason the center here is cleaned out is because they got scraped off. But you can see lots of mites. So the next treatment will be an indicator of what the load is going into winter. Just going to leave that there because I got to clean them before I do OAV. In our recent WAS talk, I guess we had Dara Scott from Hive Alive on and another specialist from on Nosema. But there was one question around if Hive Alive or the Time Out content has an impact on Varroa. And I guess there's never been any studies. There's anecdotal information, but me being a person that likes to experiment, I like running experiments, so I need to manage my Nosema, and I'm hoping Hive Alive, Timol, and the seaweed extract helps my bee guts deal with amoeba spores or amoeba cysts. So hence the reason with my little numbers this year, I don't want to do any funky trials. I need all 4 colonies to get through the winter so that I can do splits and get my numbers back to 8 to 10 where I like it. And I'm not going to go with any foreign queens or European queens, purchase queens, because I do have chalk brood here and they're probably not able to deal with the chalk brood, and just not sure about the quality control and the stress they go through. So I'm going to stick to North American or Saskatchewan queens. And then you can see how the last 2, the mite levels were much lower. So this one here has had true very low numbers. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4. So this here is one of the colonies, and it's got like 4 mites after a week. After no AV, there may be 5, 6, so not that many, which is great. So hence the reason, but I'll still retreat and we'll go from there. So let's just do a quick check on the feeders, and if it's empty, I'll add a bit, and if it's not empty, so it's dry, you can see not many bees there, it's good. So I'll give it a wipe of vinegar to just get rid of some of that mold before I add syrup. So I've got some blue towels and some vinegar, and I just use it to help disinfect the bottom of the tray here. Let's check the next one. And I'm just taking you through what I typically do when I do non-intrusive inspections. Check this one out. See, there's a bit of syrup left. There's a little cluster bees in the middle there. So this colony is actually quite small. This is that Carpathian queen. I may have a gut feel that she may have died like the other ones. So if I'm going to lose a colony, it'll be this one. The other 3 have, so this is a 0-year-old queen, which is great. And it's got the lowest mite count. So this one here I have the most confidence in, and it's extremely heavy. So if I do a tilt test, I can't even lift it, which is good. This one tilt test, so it's to weight, it's plenty heavy. So technically for a single, I wouldn't have to feed that. Here's another extremely heavy one. Yep, hardly lift that. And then over here, let's do a quick lift. A bit lighter. Oh, can't budge it. So I don't think any of these colonies are starved this winter. You can see feed's all gone. I'll add a bit just to give them a bit of syrup to play with, but not too much. And then same here, they're out of the feeder, so it means that the bees are just down in the nest. If you put your ear to them, they're already quiet. It is 10C out, 45, so you can see how the bees naturally go lethargic when I'm not foraging and when there's a lot of winter bees in there. So if I added a pollen patty on right now, the queens would start laying, and all my winter bees, or a big chunk of them, would convert to nurse bees, and then their aging process would trigger. They'd fail the winter because they're not winter bees, and they won't live the 180 to 250 days that I need them to live. So pollen patties are good, but if not used properly, they'll really cause havoc, and basically you'll have a colony of summer bees trying to overwinter. So it's okay for your nest to shrink and to lose half your bees in your box because they're summer bees. They'll die anyways. Okay, so don't panic on thinking you need a brood nest until the snow falls. Okay, I'm in the north, and like I said, my bees can live almost 300 days. So if I can do 300 days, you guys can do 60, 100, 150 days easy. So don't overdo it on the pollen. Just gonna finish quick thoughts there. I forgot to finish the queen topic. So this one here is year 0, and it's a ABC mutt queen. So a late requeen after the Carpathian queen failed. This one still has a a Carpathian queen, but I'm worried that she may not do it. Bee numbers are lower. But I don't know how those Carpathian queens overwinter or how many bees they'll have. So if there's one I'm worried about, it's this one. It'll be stuck in the middle. It'll have plenty of insulation all around. Sides are shared. So I'll do my best to protect it. These two are queens that have overwintered 2 winters. These were my spare queens. And after the Carpathian queen failed in each one, I had to recombine my splits and then just form 2 colonies. So it's unfortunate because technically I had 4 Carpathian queens. 1 survived, 3 failed. So it ruined all my my plans for this year. But it is what it is, and you learn to deal with it. So the goal is I've had successes over winter queens, aged queens, but I'd say this one has the most risk of failing because of unknowns and current bee numbers. They're okay, but it could have been bigger. I may reduce the volume on it if I get a nice warm day. And then these 2 here, they seem to still have quite a few mites, so the next OAV will tell me what the mite levels are. But they're also older queens, so they've had successes, so it should be okay. And yeah, it's either this will be their 3rd or 4th winter. I can't remember, but close to that. So anyways, they should make it. But bee numbers now, they're plentiful in both. There's plenty of bees and the boxes are packed, so not too worried about it from a bee numbers perspective. Maybe just from the age of the queen. So that's that. Okay, I just finished the first one. Let's see the bottom here, foil tape and the red tape. And then we've got our plug with foil underneath so the bees can't get to it. And this just fits like that for most of the season. And that'll be the winter setup. So I'll just finish the last 4. Shouldn't take me too long. Foil tape is annoying because it's hard to get the backing paper off, but there's little tricks, but it takes a bit more time. But anyways, that's my setup. Okay, I'll finish my my winter prep material. 3 boxes already there. I'll just do a quick demo. What you do is put your shims on top of your top bars. Imagine this is the top bars of where the colony is. Then we'll put the feeder tray like that. And then basically what I'll do is I'll put this bubble foil wrap just to help seal around that that plug. Okay, so there's a bit of give there, so I'm just going to use bubble foil wrap here to help seal things up. Then basically you stack these on top. Okay, but really what happens is you'll have your your medium or deep box, depending how much insulation you want. Okay, so that's it. So that pretty much fits in. So this is 2-inch styrofoam like that. It's R10, but with the gaps here and stuff like that. So you won't get a full R10, so you'll have infiltration and risk of different things going on, condensation points, if you just stop there. But what I'll do to help with infiltration, I'll stick this bubble foil wrap here. It just helps seal things up. And then you start stacking these inside. You can put foil side down if you like. It really doesn't make a difference for this type of application. So now I'm at I'd say 25, give or take. This will be R30, like that. Imagine now another lid. So the lid is probably close to R9. So this will be a probably a R45 top. It's probably the most insulation I've ever had. So condensation on top will not happen. Heat loss on top will be very, very minimal. And I foresee that the bees will do really well. And then that little tray will be perfect later in the season, or I guess in March, for me to add my pollen patties. So that's that. If you're in a warmer climate, you could actually just use a medium box and just go with R10 or R20 there. It would be fine.